They had less than a minute to choose between life and death. A civilian train, over 200 passengers, and Russian drones closing in from the sky. Panic unfolded in seconds aboard a Ukrainian passenger train last Tuesday after crew members spotted Russian drones tracking the locomotive in the Kharkiv region. Train conductor Anatoly Timotsko says everything happened in the span of a single minute. After seeing 3 drones following the train, he immediately ordered passengers to evacuate, fearing an imminent strike. But there was no time. One drone hit the tracks ahead, forcing the train into an emergency stop. Seconds later, another drone slammed into rail car 16. 5 passengers were killed. Dramatic footage from the scene shows an entire carriage engulfed in flames. Another shows a mother scrambling across snow-covered tracks, clutching her baby. Train attendant Olga Terletska was among those rushing through the carriages, shouting warnings, pulling people toward the exits. She says the fear was overwhelming. After evacuating as many passengers as possible, she fled into nearby bushes as explosions echoed behind her. Both Timotsko and Terletska later spoke to AFP in Kyiv, where they were honored for their actions at the capital's central station. Ukraine says attacks like these are becoming more frequent. Russia has intensified strikes on rail infrastructure, a network used to evacuate civilians from frontline areas. Moscow denies deliberately targeting civilians, but Ukrainian officials argue the pattern tells a different story. Ukrainian Railways CEO Oleksandr Pertsovsky says the goal is clear: to cut off regions of the country by attacking what he calls Ukraine's lifeline.
Aim is very clear. If you put latest attacks on railways on the map, you clearly see that there is an attempt to effectively cut certain regions of Ukraine.
Railways have long been a critical artery in wartime Ukraine. In 2022, a Russian missile strike on the Kramatorsk railway station killed around 60 people. Despite the danger, last Tuesday's crew acted fast. They detached the destroyed carriage and moved survivors into cars still able to travel east toward Lozova. Train 104 operates between Lviv in western Ukraine and Barvinkova, just 50 kilometers from the front line. After the attack, the crew were granted leave. They are set to return to duty on February 7th. Terletska admits she is afraid, but says the railway staff are bound like family. Timotsko, a former soldier who fought from 2022 to 2024, agrees. He says fear doesn't excuse stopping. With civilians still riding the rails and war still raging overhead, he says there is only one choice left. It's our duty.
Putin jolts Zelensky's power seat with a heavy air attack. Ukraine capital Kyiv faces heavy fire. Explosions rock Ukraine capital city, unleash mayhem. Ukrainian capital Kyiv once again came under Russian attack overnight on February 5th. Kyiv Independent, citing local officials, reported that Russian forces launched a drone strike. Intermittent explosions were heard in Kyiv. At around 2 a.m. local time, the first explosion was heard. Another blast was heard again in the city at around 4:15 a.m. Kyiv City Military Administration head Timur Tikhenko said that Russia targeted various neighborhoods, including the Obolonsky, Sviatoshinsky, and Solomyansky districts of Kyiv. In the Obolonsky district, parked cars were caught on fire, while in the Solomyansky district, one person sustained injuries. The full extent of the damage caused was not immediately clear. Russia's fresh onslaught comes 2 days after it launched its largest attack of 2026 on Ukraine. The Russian military launched 71 cruise and ballistic missiles, along with 450 drones, at various Ukrainian towns and cities, including the capital, Kyiv. The attack struck multiple residential buildings in the capital, injuring at least 9 people after a short pause in strikes on Kyiv at the request of the US President Donald Trump. The Russian attack also struck thermal power plants and combined heat and power facilities, supplying Kyiv, Kharkiv, and Dnipro. The latest attack on Kyiv comes as Russia, Ukraine, and the United States concluded the second round of trilateral talks in Abu Dhabi on February 4th. Another round of peace discussions is expected on February 5th. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said the door to a peaceful settlement remains open, but Russia will continue the war until Ukraine adopts the relevant decisions. Peskov, however, did not specify the conditions.
There's no need to expect any announcements at this moment. We are not planning to make any specific statements or communications. The work itself will commence today as scheduled. Regarding the precise timing, the delegation members on site will determine the exact start time, depending on the overall readiness of all participating delegations. These will be 4-party negotiations, and it will also involve a dedicated working group focused on security matters. The doors for peaceful settlement are open. Russia maintains its openness. Our position is perfectly clear. It's well understood by Kyiv's regime and American negotiators who are offering good offices for these 4-party and until the Kyiv regime makes the appropriate decisions, the special military operation continues. Our military strikes those targets that represent the Kyiv regime's military potential, and the operation continues.
In his nightly video address, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said both sides have agreed on another prisoner swap in the near future.
Our delegation reported after today's meeting. It was a trilateral format. The team also had contacts with the American side. Rustem Umerov, Kirilo Budanov, and David Arakamia reported. The guys were in touch. We discussed the interim results of the day's negotiations.
They will continue this tomorrow, and it will also be continued tomorrow.
This will also be a very important step. We are expecting a prisoner of war exchange in the very near future. We absolutely must bring our captured soldiers home. And overall, our Ukrainian position is extremely clear. The war must genuinely be brought to an end. Russia itself must be prepared for this.